You probably think you've got time. That's the biggest lie anyone ever told you. At 20, at 30, we live as if we're just drafting a rough version of a life that will only begin for real somewhere down the road. But let me tell you a secret that might save you 40 years of therapy and a full-blown panic attack at 60. Most of the things keeping you up at night right now are completely useless. They're emotional clutter. I know. You're not crazy for feeling anxious. You're just looking at the wrong map. What I'm about to give you are 5 brutal truths about what becomes absolutely useless when time starts closing in, and why you need to drop that weight now, while your knees still work and your dreams are still alive. Here's the thing. I see people like you every single day. Young people who get home exhausted on a Tuesday night, stare at the ceiling, and feel a kind of emptiness that no promotion at work or like on Instagram can fill. You're exhausted because you're carrying stones that by the time you're 60, nobody can even see anymore. Stay with me until the end, because the last thing I'm going to tell you today is the hardest one to hear. It's the point where most people break. I'm going to show you why your desire to be someone, to leave behind an unforgettable legacy, is actually the cruelest trap you've ever set for yourself. Now listen carefully. I'm going to show you exactly where your life energy is leaking down the drain while you're reading this. Your biggest addiction today isn't your phone. It isn't coffee. It isn't even work. It's other people's gaze. At 20 or 30, you live inside a costume. You choose what to say, how to dress, even how to feel based on an invisible audience that, honestly, doesn't even remember you exist. Seriously, think about Ricardo. Ricardo is 32 years old. For the past decade, he's been saying yes to a boss he hates, buying clothes that make him uncomfortable, and hiding his own vulnerabilities because what will people think? He believes he's building a reputation. He believes he's securing his place in the world. But let me tell you what happens at 60. Ricardo looks around and realizes that the people he tried so hard to prove something to have either died or are far too busy worrying about their own varicose veins. Other people's approval is a check you spend your entire life trying to cash, only to discover, much later, that the account was closed from the very beginning. It's useless. Dead weight. So why are you still trying to be the main character in a story that nobody is watching that closely? Would you rather be applauded for a lie? Or be free in your truth, even if no one claps? If you truly understand what I'm about to say in the next 2 minutes, you'll never again feel like you're behind someone else, just because you don't drive the newest car. We live in this fever of accumulation. The new iPhone, the apartment with the gourmet balcony, the brand logo across your chest. You think these things are war trophies, but at 60, objects are just obstacles between you and the exit door. You know Margaret. She spent her entire life working 14 hours a day to afford the perfect house. Oak furniture, silverware no one ever uses, rugs that cost the price of freedom. Now at 65, she lives alone in that enormous house. Her kids rarely visit, because she always prioritized having over being there. She looks at that $20,000 couch, and it doesn't tell a single story. It doesn't give a hug. It's just matter. What I see in you, a 25-year-old, is this uncontrolled anxiety to fill an inner void with things that fit inside cardboard boxes. But listen carefully. By the time you're 60, what keeps you alive are the memories that once set your chest on fire, not the bills you paid to look successful. If your house caught fire today, and you could only take what's stored inside your soul, what would remain of you? A pile of luxury ashes, or a story worth telling? Now I'm going to show you how to gain 10 years of peace in 10 seconds. That argument you had yesterday, that message you left unseen because you felt wronged, that resentment you nurture like it's a pet. At 60, that's dust. At 20 or 30, we carry a kind of biological arrogance. We believe that being right is some kind of consolation prize that heals the wound. We spend weeks rehearsing imaginary conversations about how we're going to put that person in their place. Think about Arthur. Arthur spent 15 years without speaking to his brother because of an inheritance dispute, or maybe a twisted comment during Christmas dinner. He won the argument. He proved he was right. He got the last word. But now, at 62, Arthur wakes up on a Sunday morning, and the silence in his house is deafening. The phone doesn't ring, and his rightness doesn't keep him company over coffee. Resentment is poison you drink hoping the other person dies. And by 60, you realize the other person doesn't even remember why you fought. But you lost 30 years of connection over a wounded ego that no longer even exists. So, is it really worth sacrificing your present just to be the owner of the truth in a courtroom where the judge and the defendant are the same person? Do you want to be right, or do you want peace? Now I'm going to touch the most exposed wound you have, your anxiety. I'm going to show you why your strategic life planning is actually a form of suicide paid in installments. You live in the when. When I graduate, when I get married, when I have a certain amount in the bank. You're always chasing a horizon that moves 2 steps back every time you take one forward. You're treating your present like an obstacle to a future that, let's be honest, may never even arrive. I once met a woman, let's call her Helena. Helena had been planning her dream retirement since she was 25. She saved every penny. She didn't travel. She didn't take risks. She didn't live the beautiful chaos of youth because she needed to secure tomorrow. At 59, a health diagnosis changed everything. Her tomorrow was canceled. You know what becomes useless at 60? A perfect life plan that forgot to include life itself. The future is an abstraction. It's the excuse you use to avoid facing the emptiness of your Sunday afternoon. You're so worried about not going hungry at 70 that you're dying of thirst for meaning at 28. If your 60-year-old self suddenly appeared in front of you right now, would they congratulate you on your investment portfolio? Or slap you across the face for wasting the one thing they can never get back? Today, let me tell you something that might free you, once and for all, from the fear of making mistakes. You say you're too old for that now. At 24, you think changing careers is already too late. At 32, you believe you're too old to start a sport or fall in love again. What a joke. At 60, one of life's greatest strengths is the courage to look ridiculous. But you, in your 20s, are acting like the curator of a museum dedicated to your own image. You're terrified of failing and wasting time. But listen, time is already wasted if you're not using it to test yourself. Carlos gave up painting at 25 because it didn't make money, and he thought he had missed his moment. He spent 40 years in a gray office. At 63, he picked up a paintbrush for the first time in decades. Do you know what he felt? Anger. Not because he didn't know how to paint, but because he had believed the lie that age was a barrier. The real useless thing here is your fear of judgment. At 60, nobody cares if you're a beginner. So why do you care now? What are you refusing to try today because you believe the illusion that your expiration date for boldness has already passed? Now we arrive at the point where most people look away. What I'm about to say isn't meant to scare you. It's meant to free you from a prison you didn't even realize you built. Remember when I promised you the most critical lesson? The secret no one dares to tell someone in their 20s or 30s because it sounds, well, cruel. Here it is. The top of the mountain. We spend our entire lives obsessed with the idea of leaving a mark. You want to be the best in your field. You want your children to see you as a hero. You want your name to mean something. You burn your health, your sleep, and your joy trying to become unforgettable. But let me tell you what the world looks like at 60, when you're looking both backward and forward at the same time. The naked, brutal truth is this. In 2 generations, nobody will know who you were. It hurts. I know. Your great-grandchildren, if you even have them, might stumble across an old photo of you in some digital archive and ask, "Who was that?" And the answer will be a shrug. "Oh, I think that was your mom's grandfather or something." All this anxiety you feel today about being someone, about building an empire of approval and relevance, it's useless. Smoke. Spending your one brief life trying to become immortal in other people's memories is the most tragic and sophisticated way to forget to live right now. You're sacrificing the hot coffee, the long embrace, the simple pleasure of being nobody, in exchange for a paragraph no one will read 80 years from now. By 60, you realize that the only person who truly needed to know you, who needed to be proud of your journey and happy with your choices, was you. And you spent decades ignoring that person, trying to impress a future audience that doesn't even exist. Do you see the scale of the mistake? You're selling your diamond for chocolate coins. Why are you still trying to be eternal, when the very thing that makes you human is the fact that you are temporary? The truth hurts in order to heal, like a wound that needs to be cleaned. I want you to do a quick exercise now. Close your eyes for 5 seconds and imagine you're already 80 years old. You're sitting in an armchair, your body tired, and you're looking at the young person you are today, sitting there, holding that phone. What would that future version of you beg you to do right now? They wouldn't ask you to work 1 more hour of overtime. They wouldn't ask you to win that argument on Instagram. They would beg you to taste the water you drink, to laugh at something silly, to have the courage to be nobody, and be happy with that. The philosophy here is simple, but brutal. Your finitude isn't a punishment. It's your greatest privilege. It's what gives value to your time. If you felt that tightness in your chest, if something inside you just clicked, I'll ask you for one thing. Don't subscribe to this channel for me. Subscribe as a contract. A reminder that starting today, you stopped building a monument and started living a life. Comment down below. I accept being myself. That's your emotional toll to walk out of this prison. You don't have to be unforgettable to be lovable. You are already enough exactly as you are, without the character, without the possessions, and without needing to be right. Go live. Time is running, and that's the best thing that could ever happen to you. See you next time.